there's not that many stuff using the Solarpunk. We're seeing it more and more, but there's not that many games or movies or animes. I think it's a counterbalance to Cyberpunk. Some people want kind of a similar vibe, but on the good side instead of the bad side, like a world doing better with technology. I think people need that at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair.
Factories don't have to be ugly. In Modulus, every machine, every module, every tile is designed to be as satisfying to look at as it is to build with. In this Art of Modulus deep dive, we're sitting down with art director Antoine and tech artist Thomas to explore how the game's signature look came to life. From early voxel experiments to the final Zen Solarpunk-inspired factories you see today. We'll talk constraints, collaboration, and the little tricks that make a factory both beautiful and functional. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Antoine. I'm French and I'm from Paris, and I'm the art director and the lead artist on Modulus.
And I'm Thomas. I'm the technical artist from Belgium. Yeah.
So to me, even if one word is a bit difficult, I would go for Zen.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think would probably be chilled or relaxed for me.
Yeah, it's a kind of a similar vibe, yeah. When I joined the project, there was already a prototype, and some people worked on trying to figure out the art style. And the first concepts that I have seen were based on, of course, modularity and geometry. So it was a lot of voxel art references and a lot of isometric 2D, also 2D, not 3D necessarily. I remember seeing some concepts in the style a little bit of Monument Valley and games like that. Colorful, because the game uses colors are very important in the game. So it was mostly colorful and already quite a chill vibe. A puzzle aspect to the game, to the prototype, especially at the beginning of the prototype. It was very much more puzzly than it is now. And so yeah, because of that, the visual identity was mostly turned towards those style. But then I was hired, and voxel art is my expertise, so the game went naturally towards that. And as we'll discuss it, yeah, the concept itself of the game pushed us to go towards voxel art. Yeah. But yeah, it took a while in pre-prod and a lot of iterations before getting that zen and relaxed and even kind of Solarpunk aesthetic that we now have. Personally, I tend to work with very few references. I always worked like that. I don't know why. I think I was trying to be as unique as possible, and I always thought that if I looked at too much references, then it will drive me in a direction.
Funny, I never noticed.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And but for that Solarpunk vibe, one big inspiration was an advertisement called Dear Alice for a Greek yogurt called Chobani. And it's a gorgeous animated short. If you don't know that it's for the yogurt at the end, you can just look at it like a trailer for an anime, but in a Solarpunk world. It's really, really well made, and it became a landmark for this genre because it's not such a not popular, but there's not that many stuff using the Solarpunk. We're seeing it more and more, but there's not that many games or movies or animes.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's a counterbalance to Cyberpunk that we've seen quite a lot in the last 10 years, and some people want kind of a similar vibe, but on the good side instead of the bad side, like a world doing better with technology. I think people need that at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, that was for sure a reference point. I would say that the biggest one is gameplay constraints.
Yeah.
There's so many. The game design is so complex, and there's so many constraints from everywhere, like colors, the size of things, the scale of things, the speed of things. For example, when I make a building, it's not just, hey, make a blue building. It's no. The game designer gives me modules that he designed for gameplay reasons. Like they have to be challenging, but it's the early module, so they don't have to be too challenging, and they use that color and that size because
system,
they need to enter the assembler level 1, and the assembler level 1 can only do 8x8 modules, so those modules need to be that size, that color, etc. And then there's a number of modules, like 12 of the number 1, 20 of number 2, and 30 of number 3. Those are all calculated with ratios for the production line and everything. So I'm given that blueprint, and I need to try to make the best looking building possible out of those. So those are huge constraints, and it limits a little bit the creative freedom, but it's also an exciting challenge to try to make something as pretty as possible within those limits.
Yeah, no, that's also, I feel like, the craziest part. It always has been like the biggest question mark when we started prototyping Modulus, because we knew that was coming. The fact that, we make all these modules, we make these buildings, and then we just assumed, we're gonna make something nice out of it, but it wasn't like there. And for the longest time, it was such a anxious time that we just thought, what if we don't manage to make something nice out of these? Then what happens? And you just came in and do like, there you go, there you go.
Yeah.
I can do it. Like, okay, great. That's crazy.
Yeah. Every time I finish a building, it's always a little bit frustrating. I wish I could add some balconies and little details and stuff like that, or chimney. And no, I can't. I can't add any more modules or stuff like that. Yeah. And for other challenges, I would say that performance, as usual in video games, can always be a challenge. You always want to add more stuff, but you can't. And I would say colors. Because the game, colors in the game are very important. You have I don't want to spoil it, but we have at the moment 3 big main colors, and I can't really use those for props or stuff like that, because they are connected to a type of building, a category of building and stuff like that, which is connected to the progress of the player. So I need to be really careful on how I use the colors, stuff like that.
I think, it's like we just talked about it as well. It's very much because the technical limitation of, we wanted something that can be, cut, stamped, assembled. Those were very, very early on in the prototype already. And so it just made sense that we went for Voxel. But at that time, we didn't really think about Voxel as art. It was just, the way you have these resources be made. But yeah, I think it really was just... I remember at some point we were trying to make buildings out of modules, and I was doing some procedural generation of buildings, and then looking for reference on how to do that best, basically. I think I stumbled upon somebody that was trying to mimic your work with procedural generation, and so I was looking at it, I was like, oh, that's sick. And then the guy was referencing your work. And so I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's even more sick, And then I just showed that to David. And David was like, wait a minute, can't we just hire the guy? I guess we can. That's how it started, actually. That's very funny.
Yeah. Luckily, I was available at that moment.
For sure. It's just a perfect match.
That's a tough one. Usually, there's a lot of conversations between David, the game director, game designer, and myself. He often comes to me, showing me modules that he prepared for a new building, a new color, etc. And he asks me if I see any big problems in them, like trying to envision how I can make a building with them. And we go back and forth, and we try to. I will ask him. Sometimes it's like very intricate. Like those two voxels blue, can you move them to the edge? And you still have the same number of voxel, which is the same number of cubes, because we count those modules in cubes number, or 8 by 8, I think we count them.
Yeah.
That's the base.
To match like the resource ratios.
Yeah. So that's our like base unit. And then we cut that into voxels, and so sometimes it's very intricate and we move stuff around. I ask him like, that blue on the first module, can it be moved to the second module, stuff like that. So we go back and forth, and that helps me create a building, and then I do a first iteration of the building. Sometimes it works right away, and everything fits together and it works. Sometimes after a few hours on trying to make the first concept, I go back to him and I say that this module really doesn't work, so can we try to change it, stuff like that. So there's a lot of back and forth.
I can imagine. It's also, I'm guessing he sometimes want to change a module even though a building is already kind of made and conceptualized, just because actually the perceived difficulty of this module is too much for that progression in the game. I'm pretty sure I saw at some point that where it's like, actually we need to change this, and it's like, okay, let me remake a building, I guess.
It took us some time to find our flow, and and a flow of like a secured flow. What I mean is that now he does those modules, we have a conversation, but I don't start right away designing the building. He will put them in the game without the building, just the module, like a stack of module, and test them and play them and see if it's too difficult or not, and then he validates, say, okay, you can start. And that's way better, because we didn't do that before, and there's a few buildings that because when I do a building, then I have to do the what we call the polished version, the props, bringing it, exporting it, bringing it in Unity, so it can take a lot of time.
Remaking
so now
it's in Unity as well is always
we have to remake it in the what we call the diorama editor, so that we have each shape separated in game, and then it's all merged into one mesh that I prepare. And and to come back a little bit on the clarity versus creativity, what is cool is that for the clarity, I make exactly the building with these modules, but then I have a little bit of creative freedom with the props. So when the building is done, we have a second layer above that building with props like lights, chimneys, depending on the category of the building, and that gives me a bit more freedom to make something cool. And we have to be careful not to put too much so that you don't see the building behind it, because players really need to understand that the modules they make is what makes the building. The building is only made out of the modules that the player creates.
And the exact number as well. It's like a 1-to-1 ratio. That's super important.
It's my second game in using voxel art, and one of my favorite tricks is to keep everything aligned on a grid. So you would never see, for example, if I do an operator, you would never see it at an angle of, let's say, 73 degrees. It's always 45 or 90 degrees, and everything is aligned based on a grid. That way, all the voxel in the world, when you're zoomed out or everything is aligned, and it's a pleasing thing to see that everything is together, and it doesn't break lines, and well organized, which is part, I think, of the appeal of voxel art. So that's a one trick, and which fits well the game, because our game is grid based, so that's perfect. And I would say that having a camera that is close to an isometric camera also really helps to sell that geometry, and try to have a low FOV. Like 90-degree FOV for voxel art doesn't work well, because you want all the voxels to be almost as much as possible as the same size wherever they are on the screen. So that really helps. And the last,
we even at some point we had Modulus as isometric view, right? I'm pretty sure we had that for a while, and then we decided to go for more depth, just because we had some depth issue basically.
But yeah, there's for 3D stuff. I noticed often, even in Unreal Engine or Unity, that doing a pure isometric camera always creates problems of distance-based stuff, depth, and everything. So what I usually do is a 30-degree FOV, which is a bit in between. It's like a low perspective, but not ISO. So that's a good balance. And the last trick that I would give is that full lit voxel art is often not pretty. So I usually put the sun behind or somewhere behind the model so that the shadows come towards the player, and that gives more depth to the voxel art. Also, because all the voxels are the same size, you don't really have a sense of perspective, so that those shadows help and creates more volume because it's very geometric. But having those shadows help give more detail and life to everything. So you'll see in the game when you start, the sun is not facing what you're looking at. It's more behind. You can, of course, rotate the camera. So there's some angles that I like less than other in the game, but yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know. I think, at least, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but so far we've been doing good in the sense that I think for most effects that I need to do and that you want in the game, we just discuss always, and then we come up with the best solution at that time. Usually I try, whenever it's shader work, I try to make it as good as I can, and then just make a bunch of parameters be public so that Antoine can change it, very easily, I guess. But there has been a lot of times where we did that, and then at some point it's like, oh, actually, it would be nicer if other settings exist, and then we just go and change it. There has been a few, like I can think of, I don't know, maybe grass or water. I feel like has changed a lot, just because because the art also evolves as you make it. I feel like there's these effects that at some point they just get deprecated, and you're like, okay, let's just make a new one that fits the theme a bit better. So yeah, I think just lots of back and forth.
Yeah, I agree. I really remember that at the beginning of the project we tried a lot of different things, and it took a little bit of time to settle. And I feel that now our the way we work is very natural and flows naturally, because the vision is quite clear, and it works pretty well. I just want to add that I myself sometimes can't do everything that I want, that I envision, because of technical reasons. So it's great to be able to work with a tech artist who are magicians and can do anything. They're overpowered.
That's not true. We make the tools and then we don't have the vision, It's like, yeah, you do it.
That makes a good team.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I guess already talked a lot about it with how we constrain art with the buildings and with the modules. I think this is the biggest constraint that we force upon art, I guess. But it's even, I guess, more than just modules. I can think of, the size of operators, for example, how the actual, line, or is it like a T shape, or all of that is very important for, I guess, level design kind of, but the way you organize. Early on prototype, we had so many iteration on that. I remember we have a few models made for different shapes, operators, just because we found that certain setup worked best. Same for, I don't know, the size of buildings, the platform size, even the environment. How does environment look? But you can't just have only tiles, because then it's not as interesting for a player to come up with placement of operations. So you're also constrained by that. I feel like you're constrained by pretty much everything. And then it's just that makes the art, so that's also nice. But
on the other way around, where art shaped a little bit the not necessarily tech constraints, but maybe design constraints. I know that our game designer wouldn't mind that the islands have as many free tiles as possible so that the player can do whatever they want. And I often push for adding environment elements, like a little pond, those little mountains, some props and stuff, because to me, like 80 by 80 white tiles on an island, it's not super interesting. So we found a balance. It also creates a little bit of level design, having those blockers. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's back and forth.
Yeah, I wonder if that's not why we added grass, actually, because I think we needed a way to have the ground be less boring to look at, basically, but without constraining the level. And so grass is like a great way to do that, because you can still build on grass, but at least it's something else to look at.
Yeah, true.
I wonder if the building's floor isn't one.
Yes.
That was kind of new, right? We had for the longest time like the whole building be built with all the modules you delivered, and then somewhere we changed it to floors, and then you would upgrade the buildings, and each floor would be an upgrade of the building.
Yeah.
And so that was adding yet another constraint to how you design buildings, because they would need to be, well, the same floor duplicated. But it also gave, I think, the look it has now, where it looks like a building. I think before we didn't really think of them as building, but more like house, I guess.
Yeah.
But the fact that we needed floors now made it look like building. So
yeah,
maybe that.
And I would also add the platforms themselves, because you needed a spot to deliver the modules.
True.
And it was like, should we keep like 4x4 tiles empty where you deliver the stuff and it's only there? And actually the platform allow us to connect to them, and that's where you deliver stuff, and then the building is built above it. And but the platform also served another purpose, because we tried having the buildings directly on the ground floor of the factory, same as the operators, and it's not great for readability, because everything is everywhere, and those platforms allow to really separate the buildings from the rest of your factory, and I think that helps for clarity.
Yeah.
So we just discussed this a tiny bit, but for example, the white tiles is the main reasons for those white tiles is readability. It's like to have like a white paper, and then when you draw on it, it's visible. It's a little bit the same. We wanted everything put on top of those tiles be readable, and so for that, for example, if you check every operator, they start with a really dark base. So their bottom is a 1 voxel or 2 voxel high dark base. That way, when you stamp them on a white tile, you instantly see the contrast, and you have a clear separation with the rest. So that helps. And there's also a 2 voxel margin on every side of all operators, so that when you have 2 operators next to each other, they're not touching and look like just one big module. You still see, even if it's subtle, you still see that they're separated, and then you see clearly your lines, your production lines, etc.
That's cool. I didn't know you did the kind of a trick with a black voxel on the bottom.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah, it's a little stuff like that, and then for colors, as I said a little bit before, I try not to use the main colors of the buildings on other aspects and stuff like that. So that it's quite tricky, the use of colors. For lighting, I don't have that much to say about the lighting to use it for clarity, except that it's a full day lighting, so that we have most things readable at all time. We try to avoid having too much VFX on top of everything. So like the fog, for example, it's fog clouds. They're under the level, so they're under 0. So that's why you have those clouds between the islands. That way they're not over the operators and stuff like that. Yeah. So we try to have not much between the camera and the models themselves. And for lighting, I also try not to have LUTs, lookup tables, or like color tweaks, like post-process color tweaks, so that the colors that we chose while designing stuff are still those when you look at the game. And so yeah, it's little tricks like that. I might be spoiling a little bit, but one of the tricky things when we'll add the day-night cycle will be to be careful with that lighting and readability. And I remember that when we started doing concepts for it, it's not a full night. It's more like a bluish hue, so that everything is still readable, but it gives that sense, that vibe of night with emissiveness pushed up. And it still looks cool while being readable. You don't want it to be too dark. I would say I'm thinking of two things. I really like how we ended with the colors of the environment. I'm especially thinking of the grass and the trees. Those trees have they could be all green, like basic trees like we all have, but we have like that bright yellow and that bright green. I think it makes the game pop, which is nice. It also gives it a little bit of Zen vibe. I don't know why, but those colors to me feel like reassuring or something. I really like those colors. And in terms of assets, I really like the yellow buildings for the moment, because we'll have two more colors. But for the moment, it's my favorite one, because it works well with I think we called it black color in the game, white and black, and then you have blue and yellow, and no, that's it for now. Yep. I'm trying not to spoil.
No spoil, yeah.
Yeah, but the black is actually a dark gray, and the white is actually a very light gray. To be honest, and that dark gray color combined with the yellow is one of my favorite combination. I really like black and yellow, or black and orange is a really good combination that I really like, especially in sci-fi.
So I think in most games it's always the same kind of answer, but it's always performance related. I mean, most of the time. In our case, that's pretty much always any magic we do is just for performance reason. So yeah, we have like all islands, all operators, they just get culled, so they just don't exist at all. It's not just hidden, they just actually stop existing to save the most performance when you're far away. And
not just visuals, right?
It's currently just just visuals, but down the line it is very much possible that we can we say abstract islands, and that would be to basically average, like considering an island as an operator, kind of where you have an input and an output, and then you can somewhat average without at least trying to not lose precision there. And then that would be quite nice, because that would technically mean you can have an immense amount of islands working with factories, and it would still work, so that's great. But yeah, other behind the scene magics, I mean, there is stuff like, I don't know, the clouds that we see in the game now, they are exactly the size of the camera frustum, just because it's vertex animated, so you have the most detail based on that. If it was just an actual big plane, that wouldn't be the case. A thing that nobody will ever notice, which is great, but that's also a lot of work, is all the animations of operators in the game are vertex anim from the shader, or at least currently most aren't, but they will be, because that just saves a lot of performance to not have animators. So yeah, there's many just quirks of optimizations.
And also, tell me if I'm wrong, but the interior view of operators, like when you get inside the cutter assembler, all of this exists in the same world, right? Yeah. It's just somewhere else on the map, but you're not loading anything
far
else.
Away, yeah. It's actually there was a funny bug at some point, because I think we had like a flying modules inside the inside views, and we just didn't understand why. And it turned out that we had modules preview. It's also like a module, existing somewhere in the game, like 1,000 miles away, and then you would have those inside view also existing 1,000 miles away, and we just it just happened that they were at the same location randomly, and so it was just very funny to see that, and it's like, oh, that's why.
You might be better suited to answer since you were there from the start.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, it changed a lot because I think... So we started prototyping with another team that's no longer here, unfortunately. But we had a few artists do some R&D work for what would Modulus look like. So obviously, if you look at those images, it's like very, very different from what we have now. So yeah, in that regard, it changed a lot. But I think even since you joined, I'm pretty sure there was some, I'm not gonna say gothic, but there was a bit more detailed operators. Or was it like just more voxels to represent the operator, something like that, right?
Yeah, we tried a lot of different scales for the voxel art. The trick is to find the right balance between detailed enough so that you can express yourself and not too detailed also for performance reasons, because or the complexity of the meshes. And the third one is production time. The more detailed it is, the longer it is to make. And when you know the number of operators and variations and buildings and everything that we have to do, and also because of the size of our team, you don't want a building to take 2 weeks to make, you know?
Yeah.
So that was one. And we also iterated on at the moment, like everything that is operators and buildings are voxel art, and the environment is low poly. And we tried at the very beginning to do everything in voxel art. So also the environment and everything. And there's too much greeble. It's, you can't disconnect what you build from the world because it's all part of one world. It is all voxels. It's like in Minecraft, so it looked like visually it will look great for like a concept art or like an illustration, and those concepts look cool, but it doesn't work for a game.
I kind of remember it looking like Age of Empire kind of view. It was I actually quite liked it.
Yeah, me too.
It's a very
visually,
style,
and it was pure isometric, so it gave that old RTS look.
Yeah, true.
Can't think of that many things except maybe that environment in full voxel art, but
I maybe have one. The modules, we for a very long time we needed, or we were making high definition modules when you finished it. That's that would have been crazy to continue doing, right? It's like basically so for context, what we had was you would make a module, and because the buildings would look a bit, I guess, too dull or not detailed enough,
too simple,
we wanted to have every module have a high definition version of themselves, which had like a loads of details. I'm not sure what was the ratio of times 10 or something like that, the amount of voxels used, even more, right?
No, not that much. I think it looks so different that you can think that, but I think it was like 3 or 5 times bigger, something like that. Which in voxel is already a lot.
But I remember that just got stripped at some point because of scope, probably.
Yeah, and also one of the reasons we stripped it down, it was scope, but mostly they were used in the very, very first not demo but playtest, I think. And the building you're creating and the final building looked too different because of those HD modules. And players didn't understand that the modules they created were used for that building. It looked like a different building. Like I gave some weird modules and poof, you have a nice building. And so we removed that also to simplify the look of the building so it looks closer to what you're actually building. That was one of the reasons. And the other things that we cut that could come back maybe one day, I don't know, was biomes. That's mostly for scope reasons.
True.
To have a more different biomes the further away you go from your starting island, like a desert biome, ice biome, stuff like that, for the environment mostly. And the second one that I was sad because it adds a lot also visually and gameplay wise is elevation. So because the factory is on one plane always, and we were thinking of adding some little steps and and little mountains where you can have an elevator that brings you to the top. And we iterated a bit on that at least in the concept art phase, and it looked really cool. But it's almost like adding another dimension to the game. So for scope reason, yeah. But I think it's something we could revisit at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I think maybe Modulus 2.
Maybe.
Or just a DLC for Modulus 1.
Yeah, or even maybe an update during early access, the early access phase. We'll see.
True.
So I think that would be a question more for the game director, but I think the main idea from the start was to make a factory game that allows players to be creative. That's the main selling point, I think, of Modulus. So the trick was to create tools that will allow them to push the systems to their limit, and I think we'll keep going towards that direction, bring them more tools in the future for them to be even more creative. And that's not a spoiler because it's not planned for now, but we'd love to do it. I secretly dream of letting them build their own buildings. That the modules they create, after that they create their own buildings with those modules, and not just recipes of buildings that we have at the moment. But yeah, again, scope.
If you could even like share a building, and then other players could try and make the buildings that other players did, that would be so cool. But yeah,
nice challenges.
scope. Unfortunately.
Yeah, every time we release a new build or a demo or playtest, I'm always surprised. But I gotta say that the craziest moment was the first time we did public playtest, and before that it was just us devs playing the game, and we would always see the same stuff, and then you let it to players who are like super creative, and they pushed our tools and our systems to the limit, and finding some tricks to levitate some voxels and stuff like that, and we saw some crazy stuff. I'm thinking of someone doing a QR code with the modules and the voxels, and when you click when you took a picture of the QR code, it took you to the Modulus website or something, and someone did a world map, a full world map.
Just the concept of pixel art, I think, never really crossed our mind, because you have a limit of size of the model, right? It was like, I think 12 by 12 back then.
Yeah.
So sure, you can do some pixel art with 12 by 12.
Smiley, a smiley on the 12 by 12.
So that we were like, yeah, sure, that might do some stuff. But then somebody saw that, actually you can put with conveyor belts multiple 12 by 12 square, and that would fit perfectly. That's just a happy accident. Never intended to do that. And so technically you can do any size pixel art now, and so that was just so crazy to see. Also, it happened so fast that I think that's for me the most impressive. Is like pretty much one day after we released the playtest, and then people came back with like, I know, bunnies in the grass and cars and whatever, chessboards, and like, what do you mean? Is this the same game? Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, that's the really cool aspect of the game. For me personally, it's not a promise, but I really think everyone in the team wants to add this during early access is a day-night cycle. I think it will work really great. We already have a lot of like emissiveness in the game, and now we have cosmetics with like lampposts and stuff like that. I think it will work great when it's nighttime and we pump up the emissiveness of everything. Even the buildings, it will look cool. They have little lights on them. There's some neons and stuff like that, so I think it will look really nice during the day-night cycle.
Yeah, for sure.
I would less be inclined to do like weather effects, like snow and stuff like that. But I think we have concept phase of the day-night cycle. We have a little bit of rain from time to time, which can add to the mood, especially to the Zen mood, with the music changing
some
and
reflection on the ground.
Yeah.
That would be
puddles.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I'm visually, at least for early access, that's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think for me it would be. I really hope I have time, like enough time to do it properly. But I feel like the current effect of building completion, like when the building is completed, is lacking a bit of, it's a bit underwhelming basically. I really want it to pop because it's really just the core loop of the game, like you really, that's
a
what
reward,
you work for, and then you really want to see some big rewards. And I know that at some point we kind of put that aside because you can miss it, right? We don't want to like take the camera and be like, now look at this building being completed. And so because of it, we're like, okay, so it's maybe less priority because you can miss it entirely. But still, I think when it happens, if you next to it, you should see something really cool happening. So I'm gonna push to make that happen.
Yeah. In terms of visual polish, I still don't know the priorities, but one thing that I like to make is the world a little bit more lively. So like having some birds or even maybe some mechanical creatures going between the islands, stuff like that, or maybe even like flying spaceships, or coming down from the colony that is at the bottom, like to make the world a bit more lively. And we even discussed having some decorative islands where you can't build, but they're there like in the middle, and you will have like a spaceship crashed into it or something, or like a cascade or something special, to give a bit more life and lore to the environment. Yeah, we already discussed a little bit of stuff that we want to bring in without teasing. It's mostly the new colors, which implies new buildings, which might imply also the new recipes and new resources. Yeah, stuff like that, and maybe new operators and the monuments that we didn't show yet, I think. Yeah, there's gonna be a few monuments to make, which are quite big. It's gonna be nice to see players make them. And also, during early access, work towards the final end goal of the game, which we have on paper. And but I'm excited to see how we achieve it.
Yeah, same.
And that's it for our look behind the scenes at the art and style of Modulus. If you want to see these designs in action, you can play the free demo right now. And don't forget to wishlist Modulus on Steam so you don't miss our early access launch on October 22nd this year. Build smart, build beautiful, and we'll see you on the factory floor. Bye!
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.